Hey all. So previously I used Azure MCP and GitHub Copilot for Azure, and I used them to build this website here. So the data behind this website is stored in a Cosmos DB database, and Copilot or in Claude or any of the agents using the Azure MCP are able to query the information out of the database, set up connections to the database, write queries against the database in order to build things like this beautiful site where I can come in here and check out my favorite R2, my favorite character R2D2. So what I'm going to do today is I want to deploy that app to Azure. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to tell it what I want to happen. Let's deploy this application to Azure using Azure Container Apps and make sure the app is talking to the database on the back end. All right, so I'm going to let that run for a few minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll walk you through the process that it went through. Okay, so it looks like we have our application here. We have 913 sets. If I sort this by number of parts, which I had sorted by before, scroll down, I should see all of my sets that I had. And here's R2D2. Fantastic. So all of this is working, and all of this is running in Azure right now. You can see I'm hitting the web, I'm not hitting localhost. So now let me back up, and I'm going to show you what process Copilot went through using the Azure MCP to do this. So one of the first things it did is it called some tools we have for get best practices. So these help it understand how to work with Azure. What are the best practices for building and deploying applications on Azure? It did some learning about Cosmos capabilities, deployment capabilities. So it called specific tools. And then it came through and it just verified the Cosmos DB account existed. And then it actually went and it retrieved the bicep module from Azure verified modules. So we have some information where we want it to use Azure verified modules wherever possible. So it's doing that. And then it checked the bicep files for any errors. This is some of the deployment steps that we have. We make sure that we're validating these things along the way. It built the Docker image. It actually ran into an error here when it called AZD init the first time. And it's because we didn't have a unique environment name. But then it added that itself and it was able to move on, no problem. So then it set my Azure subscription ID. It gave it a location to deploy to. And then this is one of the other big steps. It went through a pre-provision step or a preview provision. This is a pre-check. Just make sure it looks like everything's going to deploy okay. This worked fine. Then it went through AZD, did an AZD up. This is the full deployment. We did see an error here, so it partially succeeded, but failed when trying to assign the Cosmos DB role because this Cosmos DB account is in a different resource group. So it was cool. It found that. And it was able to come through here, called some other tools from the Azure MCP, got the details about the Cosmos DB database, said, hey, I know where it's at now, updated all the bicep, redeployed it, and then just verified the deployment was working. And now we have our application built on data in Azure and then deployed to a container app in Azure. Pretty cool. Thanks.